Welcome, everyone. My name is Erin Ivey. I'm the Executive Director for Speak Up, Reach Out, and we are here today to talk a little bit about what does suicide look like in Eagle County. We try to do this type of presentation once a year, just to update our community partners and our community members on what we're seeing and what we're learning based on the data that we collect, as well as some anecdotal and kind of community feedback throughout the year. And so we're going to go through a few different pieces today. Of course, I can't get to where my screen will go to the next slide, so that's fantastic. Give me just 1 second. There we go. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the data piece. We're going to talk about what is Speak Up, Reach Out doing to also be working with and starting to engage more frequently the Hispanic and Latino community members that we want to make sure are getting the same care and prevention services that we offer. And then we'll also talk about the programs and events that are coming up, our school programs, some of the key evaluation results that we've seen from our programs, including our school programs over the year. And then how can you get involved through different things, including all of our social media, blogs, campaigns, newsletter, et cetera. And then some of the efforts that we are really diving into at Speak Up, Reach Out because of the fact that we have data to support that this is what our community needs during this time. And then, as I said, we'll also make sure we give plenty of time for questions, comments, concerns, et cetera. I do want to note, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat at the bottom of your screen with the chat function. Our team will do the best to answer some of those in the chat, but we'll also pull some of those out to answer during the Q&A portion. So let's talk a little bit about how Speak Up, Reach Out collects the data that we're going to share with you today. We do a process called retrospective fatality analysis. And we use this to inform our community-based suicide prevention efforts. It also gives opportunity for the survivors who have lost loved ones of suicide to potentially make meaning out of a tragic loss in their life. It gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of research around suicide. In some cases, it can provide legal testimony. We haven't used it in that way. And it informs our post-prevention efforts, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. And then it also gives an opportunity to provide training for individuals around what retrospective fatality analysis is. It's a really fancy word for saying we're looking at a lot of different pieces to the puzzle to understand how people end up dying by suicide, why they chose the means that they died by. So as we look at this data, it's really important to remember that all of these numbers are not just numbers. These are people who contributed to our community and are no longer with us. And there's a huge ripple effect that comes with each one of these numbers in impact, in grief, in how people live their day-to-day life after the loss of these loved ones. And I'm just going to highlight a couple things. We have 5 years worth of data here just to show kind of how things have or have not changed over the years. And so starting back in 2019 through the end of 2023, it's also important to know that these numbers are really what we see here in our local community. So we work with the coroner's office to put these numbers together. And then there's another layer of data collection that happens at the state, the Colorado Violent Death Reporting System. And the Colorado Violent Death Reporting System takes all the numbers from all the coroner's offices across the state, and they start to scrub it and really understand how people might be going from one county to another. And so when you look at their data, it might not be exactly the same as our data because this data reflects deaths that happened in Eagle County. And if somebody died in Eagle County but didn't live here, the Colorado Violent Death Reporting System will attribute that death to their home county in the state of Colorado if they were from the state of Colorado. So I'm happy to dive into that deeper with people one-on-one or offline, and we'll provide contact information later, but just want to give a little brief overview of how that process works. So on average, we've seen about 12 suicides in Eagle County over the past 5 years, and that average age is in the mid-40s. Men are dying by suicide more frequently than females in Eagle County, and that resident column is, were they a resident or considered a resident of Eagle County at the time of their death? And usually that means that they have been here and held residence for more than 6 months. So it's just important to note that people that don't live here are dying in our community in some cases, but most of the time it is residents who are dying in our community. So we're going to talk, these are the questions we get asked most often, or maybe some of the myths that are out there. And so we want to address them just upfront with you all. People say, oh, of course, suicide happens at a certain time of year. And so we pulled the data to show that actually it happens all the time throughout the year. Yes, there are some spikes here and there, but sometimes people think that suicide only happens during the holidays, or that the holidays and the winter months are the months that see the most suicide because of seasonal depression. But the reality is, as you can see by this chart, we are seeing suicide in Eagle County throughout the year, kind of every year. The other question we get is, what do people do? Who are these people, and what are they contributing, or what did they contribute to society before they died? And it's really hard to show this on a graph because there is kind of a variety of occupations that people had, but we tried to show some groupings of things. And so what we know is the construction, and that says construction and mechanical, that construction and kind of working with your hands industry. We see suicide happening in that industry. We also know that some people who are unemployed and retired contribute to these deaths. And similarly, the hospitality industry. So again, I think my big takeaway from this is it's not just affecting one demographic in this space either. And this is what we can walk away with to really understand that the workplace is obviously a place that we can meet people and give them education because they're already there. And there's a lot of research to show that that might be one of the most cross-cutting systems to make change. Another one we get asked a lot is about relationship status. So here you can see what that looks like. I think it's really important to note on this slide, and although the data doesn't tell you this, what we've pulled out from the interviews that we've done and the reports that we've read is that most people in our community who died by suicide had a relatively recent loss of an intimate partner relationship. So that might look like they were dating and no longer dating. They were separated or divorced. But we also, and that single category really can contribute to that we're dating and no longer dating piece. So we know that important relationships in people's lives do make a difference. And so really, how do we do our work to make sure that people have the support that they need when they're maybe going through divorce or separation? And then another piece, we partnered with the coroner starting in 2022. So that's why this only reflects 2022 and 2023 data. And to understand toxicology. So before that, a toxicology test was not done every time a suicide occurred. But now, as long as it is possible to draw a sample, a toxicology test is done. And so you can see that in some cases, no test was able to be done. In many cases, there was a positive toxicology result. And in 2023, more positive toxicology than negative. What we are seeing in the toxicology reports are things like alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, and illicit substances. We don't have specific data, but the violent death reporting system does show when toxicology reflects certain prescribed drugs. So things like antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication, that's not necessarily what we're seeing in these results. It's it's illicit substances that are coming up more frequently. Before I switch to the next slide, I just want to let you all know that we are going to talk about means, and I'm going to do it quickly. But this slide can definitely be something that might impact you more than others. So if that's not something you want to hear about, maybe put me on mute, turn your head the other way. But I think it's important that we have this conversation. We know that gunshot wounds and firearms are the most common way that people die by suicide in our community. And so we are addressing that through some of our programs. You can also see that asphyxiation is another one that happens frequently. And then a fall from high places or jumping is another one that happens frequently. I just want to share this because many of our partners on the call are doing work alongside us to do this and contribute to how we mitigate these things. But we're going to talk a little bit about how this impacts the work that we are doing. So with that said, I'm going to play this video. This is always a really fun part of the day. Laura, if you could give me a thumbs up that you can hear it, that would be great. When I think about what my brother was. Okay, let's try one more time.
When I think about what my brother was going through, I think of it like an avalanche.
There was this weight that started building.
The challenges were piling up.
The same way snowflakes fall out of the sky and they build and build, one on top of another.
I felt like there were all these expectations.
Overwhelming sadness.
He had this pain.
I just needed to run.
I wanted to hide.
He couldn't escape.
The weight of it all was just too much.
Everything had piled up to the point where I could no longer hold it all.
And just like heavy snow that keeps piling up,
I broke.
I gave up.
but with the right tools and resources,
Not only can we survive, but we can thrive.
And we could help others struggling in our community to do the same.
When your world comes crashing down around you, it can feel like no one understands. It is isolating and lonely. Whether it be that you have lost a loved one to suicide, you're having thoughts of suicide, or you are supporting someone who is struggling, Speak Up Reach Out is here for you. Through educational programs, peer support, and survivor outreach efforts, Speak Up Reach Out is helping people like you find meaningful answers and a renewed sense of hope. Hope comes in many forms. For some, it's being introduced to resources and support to navigate the journey of losing a loved one to suicide. For others, it's learning to ask the question, are you thinking of suicide? And getting a loved one the help that they need. And for some, it's connecting with others who have been through something similar and are just simply willing to listen. We know discussing suicide has the power to heal. We've experienced it firsthand. We bring the community together to learn and share their unique experiences because we believe that knowledge can save lives, and sharing experiences promotes healing. Become a local advocate for hope today and visit speakupreachout.org.
No, no, every time. Okay. So that's just a little bit about Speak Up, Reach Out, why we're doing the work we're doing and how we do it. This slide represents our theory of change. And what I want to share with you is that through these 6 pieces, we're really going for a public health approach to suicide here in our community. And our team members are each going to share a little bit about the programs and initiatives that they're specifically working on to address these different pieces. And we're going to start with Elian to talk a little bit about our Hispanic and Latino outreach.
Hi everyone, my name is Elian. I'm part of the team at Speak Up Reach Out. I've been with them for about 2 years now, but throughout my journey with them, just seeing that these resources still lack in my community. So this year, we've taken upon ourselves to have 5 listening sessions with our community, from community members, community leaders, and other nonprofits that serve our community. And these are some of the major takeaways. Lack of resources, like I previously mentioned, lack of knowledge surrounding programs at Speak Up, Reach Out. And we also found out the lack of knowledge surrounding any other programs in our valley. That includes resources for mental health or resources in general. And we also found out, and a major takeaway from all of our listening sessions, that this is such a topic that's not touched in our community. It's a taboo topic. So really creating awareness and surrounding suicide and mental health around our community as well. What we will do at Speak Up, Reach Out is implement more peer support programs in Spanish. We will continue to listen to our community and see how we can better our programs to serve them. But that means having other partners in our community with these other nonprofits. We have a lot of great partners here on our call today, which we are very thankful for. And we will continue to have signature events in Spanish. This upcoming summer, we have a Spanish comedy show and our memorial ceremony in Spanish that is meant to remember our loved ones who pass away, regardless of how they pass away. So that's kind of a little bit of our initiatives at Speak Up, Reach Out to be more culturally relevant community. And that also means including more resources in our website that are available in Spanish as well. So yeah, that's
wonderful. Thanks, Elian. And then Kirby's going to talk a little bit about our upcoming programs and all the things we do in that training education component of the theory of change.
Thank you so much. My name is Kirby Lemon. I am the training and events coordinator here at Speak Up, Reach Out. So I'll go over our programming, some of our upcoming events, and our training before I hand it off to a coworker. So in our program and events section, we have, we'll start with signature events. So that would include things like a speaker series, any speaker that we would bring to the community, and a lot of our larger events, like our annual memorial ceremony that we have every September, and comedy events, film screenings, a lot of things like that. And it can look like a lot of different things. When we move into our suicide prevention training part of our programming, we have trainings that are free to the community all the way from like 1 hour to 2 full days. And our next slide will be more in depth on that. Our professional development for providers, that's something that we do year round, is continuing education and education opportunities for patient caregivers and providers here in the community. And our goal with that is to improve the quality of mental health and suicide care here in Eagle County. As an organization, Speak Up, Reach Out also works in something called postvention, and that is part of that is our community response and loss support. Which would encompass the response and the support after a suicide loss or attempt. One example of the ways that we do that would be loss support packages and resources after a loss. Another way for those impacted by loss or by suicide in a lot of different ways to get support, to get resources, and to get connected would be our peer support. And again, that will be talked more in depth about later. I just wanted to mention that we do have a Spanish peer support group, and we have multiple other peer support groups that cover a variety of topics and experiences. So we'll move on to our next slide, which is going to be more in depth about our trainings. In Speak Up, Reach Out, we kind of break our trainings up into level 1, 2, and 3. And a lot of that really comes down to the amount of time, which kind of equates the amount of information that we're able to get into these trainings. In our level 1, this is our introductory level. This would be from 1 to 2 hours generally for these 4 trainings. And important to note that we also offer awareness presentations that can give people resources, how to get involved, statistics in just 15 minutes. Also in our level 1, I really want to point out one of our trainings called Living Work Start is fully online, self-paced, so that if you can't come to an in-person training or you need to go at your own speed and you don't want to do it all at once, this is a great option for you. Moving into our level 2, our level 2 trainings are all full day training, so generally about 8 hours. We have mental health first aid, youth mental health first aid, and a newer training called Soul Shop for Leaders, which is really for any community member. So in some ways, kind of targeting a little bit those of any faith background, but any community member can attend this training and learn about signs and administering those in suicidal desperation. Our level 3 training would be ASSIST. And so ASSIST stands for Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, and that is our most advanced training that we offer at this time. ASSIST teaches you how to prevent suicide by providing a skilled intervention and creating a safety plan. So it's super powerful, super unique, and like I said, it's about 2 full days. We can move on to our next slide. All of our trainings, again, just to know as we move into our next upcoming events, are free to the community, to any business or organization. We just need, usually about 10 people to get one of those going. For our upcoming events, I was remiss and missed one, so I want to mention it here quickly. On this Saturday, we have Climb for Hope at Eagle Climbing and Fitness. It's from 11 to 4. You can drop in anytime. Super discounted climbing rates, just creating a family-friendly community event, as well as trying to raise some funds for suicide prevention. If you've never climbed before, it's a great time to come out. There'll be coaches that can help to coach you in both English and Spanish. And so bilingual opportunities there, as well as some prizes. So please come out Saturday, Eagle Climbing and Fitness. For all of these upcoming events that I'll go through super quickly, you can go to our website, speakupreachout.org, to get more information and to register. We are offering quarterly QPR trainings. That's one of our level 1, stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. Our next one is on the evening of June 4th, and it will be at the Eagle Library. Also on June 4th at the Eagle Library in the evening is our volunteer orientation. So if you are interested in volunteering with Speak Up, Reach Out and like to get some more information on that, as well as, or get trained in QPR, please come down to that. You can register on our website. Like Eliane mentioned, on July 19th, we're having a Spanish language comedy event, and more information to come. On August 7th, we're hosting a storytelling retreat. So if you're interested in learning how to share your story, please stay tuned and come out to that as well. And like I mentioned before, we have an annual memorial ceremony that will be on a Sunday this year, Sunday, September 8th. And the goal of that is really community. It's to remember, to reflect, and to revitalize hope. And it's an important opportunity for those who have struggled with suicide themselves, have loved people or have lost people to suicide. It's a great event. And the last thing is just to reiterate that we do have a Dia de los Muertos event, which is in Spanish. And I know last year we had English interpretation as well, and that will be November 2nd. So thank you.
Thank you, Kirby. And then Laura's going to do an update on our school programming, kind of what we're learning from that, and some key results from all of our programs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Alvarez. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit about school programming first. Our objective with school programming is to support social emotional programming in our schools by providing every class in Eagle County in grades 5th through 12th with developmentally appropriate suicide prevention programming. After the lesson, all classes require that students complete a confidential online survey where the results are shared immediately with school counseling staff. The surveys identify if students need help themselves, if they're worried about a peer, or they do not feel like they have a trusted adult in their life. If students indicate on the survey that they are worried about themselves or someone else, a mental health professional will follow up with the student immediately. We partner with your Hope Center for these efforts, and in most cases, bring in a counselor to help support students and school staff with follow-up. Our programming starts in 5th grade with the BESOS program. This addresses 4 components of behavioral education and social emotional learning. Those are emotions, triggers or flipping your lid, mental illness and suicide. And the final one is acknowledge, care, and tell, or ACT. ACT is the tool that we leave students with and teaches them to be able to acknowledge signs of suicide in someone around them, how to care for that person, and how to tell a trusted adult. In 6th through 8th grade, we use the national program, Signs of Suicide. Lessons address the warning signs of suicide, the depression linked to suicide, how to talk to a trusted adult, and understanding coping skills. All lessons reinforce the ACT method. 9th grade uses a new program by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention called It's Real, Teens and Mental Health, which provides young people with mental health education and resources. The 10th through 12th grade lessons include signs of suicide topics such as substance misuse, taking responsibility of their own mental health, and ACT. Also, Question, Persuade, Refer teen training is offered in 11th grade. This teaches students how to see the warning signs in others, how to have a conversation with someone struggling with their mental health, and what resources are available to them. Next, we'll talk through some key evaluation results. Just a little bit of information about how we collect feedback and really how we use it in our programming. So essentially, feedback drives our programming. After events and training sessions, participants are surveyed and the data is reviewed quarterly. We look at how well or not the program was received and suggestions for improvement. Here's a quick snapshot just from the data that we've collected recently. Participants of educational events in 2024 were asked if they were provided with meaningful social connection at the event. 70% of responses indicated they were provided with meaningful social connection. Similarly, recent participants were asked, are you likely to apply something you learned at the event in your personal or professional life? And 83 of the responses indicated yes for that. Another thing that we do is we look at participants of past trainings, and we survey them at 3, 6, and 12 months post-training. Some quick kind of updates about that is when asked, do they feel more likely to discuss mental health and suicide prevention with others since they took the training? They responded with an average of 8.56 out of 10, where 10 was definitely yes. When asked if this training had relevance to their personal or professional life, they responded with an average of 8.56 out of 10, where 10 was definitely yes. And a year after the training, a little over 42% of participants had asked the suicide question. And just from our school programming in the 2022-2023 school year, mental health professionals or school counselors checked in with 165 students from surveys, which resulted in 18 suicide risk assessments. All of these students received mental health services.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura. And I think it's really important to understand that with the school surveys, we're capturing what happens immediately after our program within kind of that same day, maybe the day after. But also, we know that there are instances where a week later or something will come up and students have said, because of the training we got last week, I want to bring this issue up. But we've also had some really great anecdotal sharing around some plans that were stopped with our students in our Eagle County School District schools throughout the year because of the surveys that we're doing immediately following these classes. And so we're really proud of that. It's hard to share some of those pieces because we want to make sure we're protecting the students' identities, but we do know that there are students who were in severe distress and were identified by their peers or themselves and then received the help that they needed, which is an incredible outcome for the work that we do. Now I want to turn it over to Leslie to talk a little bit about how do you learn more? Where can you get more information? What's next? And where does all of this live if you want to continue to dive deeper into suicide prevention, what Speak Up Reach Out is doing?
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everyone. I am Leslie. I'm the Awareness and Brand Manager for Speak Up Reach Out. And the best place to find us is on our website, which is speakupreachout.org. If you don't know where to start on the website, you saw something online or heard about something and aren't sure where to start, if you scroll down on our homepage, that's a catch-all for really events that we're hosting that are coming up very soon, trainings that might be scheduled, a quick glance at resources, and all of these things you see on our homepage will then take you to the appropriate page you might be looking for. You can also go to the top navigation bar on our website, which gives you a lot of different options. And on the next page, I highlight some of those tabs that you can go to. One of the most important being, we have a lot of people that visit our website because they are in distress, someone they care about might be in distress. So resources is really what those folks are looking for. Lots of great resources about what to do if someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts, or if you might be experiencing suicidal thoughts, follow-up resources for suicide attempts, supporting someone who may have had a suicide attempt, great resources for suicide loss, all of these things that can be really helpful. One of the more upstream resources we have, so kind of trying to catch people when they might be just starting to struggle with mental health, or they want to know how to better take care of their mental health, is our coping card series. It's coping cards for resilience. And we have 54 of those. They are in Spanish and English, and they cover a variety of coping skills that you might be interested that might help yourself. They offer ideas for teens, for kids, for businesses. So a lot of really great resources there to check out. If you're just not quite sure where to start, or you might need a little bit of help, those are great to check out, and you can print those. I think we've got PDF versions of those on that page. The next several tabs are really self-explanatory. We've got our training tab where we've got the upcoming scheduled sessions, as well as all the information about the trainings that Kirby talked about. And you can see more in-depth descriptions. You can contact us right from that page if you'd like to schedule something for your business or organization. We also have our events tab where we have all of our upcoming events, peer support, which you'll hear more about in a second. We list all of our groups there. We also have a link to the Mountain Strong website, which lists other peer support groups in our community. And there are several Spanish speaking groups on that site. So if you know anyone who's a Spanish speaker, great resource for them to check out if they're interested in peer support. Our En Espanol page is everything in Spanish, including trainings that we offer in Spanish. We don't offer all of our English trainings in Spanish yet, so you'll see those specific ones on that page, events, things like that. About us, self-explanatory. Not a tab, but a very important part of our website is the Lasting Memories Gallery. This is a place where you can honor someone that you've lost to suicide. It's a safe space to be able to do that. You can view it on our website. You can find it on our homepage. And if you would like to honor someone, if you've lost someone to suicide, you can send in a photo. You can send us some information about that person, and we'll include them in that gallery. And then finally, we've got blog posts, which mainly include news and announcements. You can find those towards the bottom of our homepage. And we also include more in-depth educational information there. So just recently, for example, we published 2 blogs, one in Spanish and one in English, about how to become a trusted adult for your child. So you can look at our blog posts and find a variety of information there. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you don't follow us yet, please follow us. As we grow our following, as we have people interacting and liking our posts and commenting on our posts and sharing our posts, that is a really easy way for you to help us with suicide prevention, because it helps us grow our audience. When more people interact with our posts, more people see them, even if they're not following us. So we post a lot of events here. We post some educational pieces here. And just today, I posted about local resources like your Hope Center, Vail Health Behavioral Health, Colorado Crisis Services. And if you follow us, I would love it if you could go and like those posts. I posted those on Facebook and Instagram, and share those. If you can share those with your network of people, more people learn what kind of local resources we have, because not everyone knows. So that is very, very helpful. If you don't follow us yet, you can scan these QR codes, and I will also put these links in the chat so that you can find us. Finally, we publish a monthly newsletter, and you can sign up for that at the bottom of any of the pages on our website. It kind of gives you an overview of upcoming events, upcoming peer support groups. We talk about more current items, like, for instance, May is Mental Health Month. So we talked about that in this past newsletter. We also share things like books you might be interested in reading related to mental health or behavioral health, or other things that we've been talking about, and podcasts. So it's just a very quick, easy read, just some educational pieces and things that we're doing. And we only send them once a month, so we won't spam you with information if you want to sign up to receive that. And I will include links for all the things I just talked about. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Leslie. And what we know, based on people answering survey questions and people in our trainings, is that only about 50% of people in our community know about the behavioral health resources that are available. Only about 50% of people know about 988, the new suicide prevention lifeline number. So we need your help to continue to share those different resources. I know many of you work with individuals in a service capacity. Many of you are community members. Just because we're in the know and it feels like this is in front of us all day, every day, what we know is that most people have no idea that some of these services exist. And we think there's a huge opportunity for change in that space. So share, like, all the things. We definitely need your help. I'm not going to go too far into depth on these next two slides, but this is a big part of the lethal means portion of our strategy. And as you saw at the beginning, we know that firearms are contributing to suicide in our community. And so really educating gun owners about safe storage and how to either get firearms out of their home for a short period of time during suicidal crisis, maybe having storage devices and locking devices within their home, is a big part of what we are doing through the Colorado Gun Shop Project, and hopefully with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention here in the coming months. But these are just a couple slides that are part of a larger campaign that we are doing, and we'll share with all of you our blog on lethal means specifically around firearms, and would love to present information to any of your workplaces or community groups, neighborhoods, anybody who is interested in sharing or helping us share this message. Speak Up, Reach Out does not think this is a political conversation. This is about safety and how do we make sure that firearms are not an option for someone who is having a behavioral health crisis. Another big piece of our program over the next couple years is peer support. And so two of our peers have joined us, Kyle Foster and Steph McGuire. I'm going to let them talk a little bit about this portion. Steph, if you want to go first, and then Kyle jump in second.
Yeah, hi, I'm Steph McGuire. Like Erin said, I work with the peer support program, and I am the head of the Bitch and Stitch program. I just wanted to touch on how our groups are building community. Our groups are building safe places for mental health conversations. We now have 7 groups that you can attend in various different different activities. In starting those community and starting those friendships that then can be taken outside to the real world and support people even past what our groups provide. Kyle, you want to touch on that?
We know that Kyle's multitasking and also still running his business. But Kyle,
I can put in a couple more a couple more facts in that case. I just want to point out that when I moved back to this valley, I was newly sober, and I had no idea how I wanted to build my sober community, my recovery mental health community. And I found Kyle's group, Siegel, over at Siegel Cycles, which is his recovery ride. And that's how I built community. I had just moved back to the valley. I was in my 30s. I didn't know how to make friends. And I just randomly started mountain biking just so I could join this group. And I've built the friendships that I've built from his group, from the groups that we've developed since, are absolutely incredible, and definitely help me in my day-to-day mental health recovery.
And so now Steph's paying it forward by having her own groups as well. Peer support is a part of that improved connectedness pillar. And as many of you probably already know, the Surgeon General has issued this warning, right, about the fact that we're the loneliest we've ever been, and we need social connection. We also believe at Speak Up Reach Out, we need to broaden that safety net. So there is always going to be a need for crisis intervention and for outpatient behavioral health and for inpatient behavioral health. But we also need friends. We need a support network. We need people who can help us process the things that are happening in our life before they become this monstrous, unbearable thing that maybe can lead to suicide. And so that's a huge piece of why peer support is so important to what we're doing as we go forward. So now I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully then I get to see all your faces. It's always fun to not be able to see anybody. And I want to open up the floor. Feel free to raise your hand, so you can do that through the little taskbar at the bottom. Feel free to put questions in the chat, but we want to hear from you. What stuck out? What questions do you have? Are there any other things that you want more information on? Come on. I know somebody has a question.
I see a comment in the chat from Aggie saying peer support program is available in Spanish. Is that a question?
Yes, it is a question. I want to know if this program is available in Spanish.
Right now we have one Spanish language peer support group. It meets on the first Friday of each month from 5 to 6 p.m. And that's at the United Methodist Church in Eagle. It's really based in kind of general peer support around mental health and how we can cope.
Erin, I do see, oh, sorry. I do see a question from Kurt asking, how can the church partner with you in your efforts?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kurt. Great question. We know that the church and the faith community can have a huge role, again, in broadening that safety network. Kirby talked a little bit about one training called Soul Shop. Soul Shop has two different components. There's a full day Train the Trainer workshop. And I know that Mesa County is holding one of these the first week in June. And once you go to that full day training, you can also then deliver to your congregation and community what's called Soul Shop for Communities. And this is really rooted in a faith-based approach to suicide prevention and mental health support. I highly recommend it. Happy to continue that conversation, Kurt. We'll make sure you have our contact information.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm the new pastor at Trinity in Edwards, and I've been here since Easter, so I don't know anything. So I'm going to play as dumb as I can and let you all tell me what's going on. So I'd love to keep the conversation going. Thanks for answering that question.
Thank you for being here. Any other questions? Or comments or feedback or, yeah, John.
Yeah, a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I think the number one question that people in our community ask around suicide is the why, right? Why are we losing people? The data at the beginning of the presentation was really helpful, and I thank you for sharing that. But I was wondering, can people's narratives of somehow be anonymized a little further, so that we can get a picture of the story of the people that we've lost? Obviously there's not always going to be a why. One takeaway why I see is, people in relationship breakups passing. And obviously we're not going to be able to prevent every breakup of a relationship. But I feel like the data is sometimes kind of 30,000 foot level, and we don't get down to the nuts and bolts of why someone passed. The other couple of questions I had is, do the toxicology reports include whether a person was on a psychiatric medication at the time of death? I wasn't quite clear from what you had said if that was the case or not. And a secondary question to that is, in the interview process of family members or friends or survivors, do you ever look into, was the person ever exposed to a psychiatric medication? The emerging evidence and patient lived experiences are showing that some of those medications can have a very delayed withdrawal effect, where maybe somebody stops it very easily, but then 3 months later, their nervous system kind of goes off the rails and they become extremely suicidal. I know that, is well documented with opioids as occurring. It's now more and more being proven that also happens with psychiatric medications, because if we could provide support to those people that are maybe having difficulty coming off the medications or in crisis after stopping a medication, that would be, an important service to provide.
Yeah, thanks, John, for your questions. In regards to the first one about why people die by suicide, so part of the retrospective fatality analysis process is to interview the family, friends, and close relation to people who die by suicide. And it has proved more difficult than I would like it to be to get people to engage in some of that process. Not completely impossible, but it's not always something that people want to have a conversation about. So from the why perspective, we have lots of information to show, one, that it's never just one reason. I think that's really important for people to understand. So just to say that somebody had a breakup is likely not the only reason they died by suicide, that there are many reasons why people die by suicide. And that's much harder to show in a graph, for sure. So I wanted to highlight that some of the contributing factors might be their occupation. Because of the types of work people do, they're exposed to different types of traumas or stressors. That's part of the why. Also, the piece around toxicology, is there a relation to substance use in any of these cases? And a lot of them say yes. And that's not the answer to your other toxicology question. I'll get to that. but the why piece is definitely harder to put into a graph. And it's different for each individual case. It is against retrospective fatality analysis protocol to share any one report, even anonymized, by itself. And so there are ways for us to aggregate, and we just don't have enough data yet to say a lot about the why, except when you look at probably 20 years of data from the Colorado Violent Death Reporting System. Again, there are some things to show that they had a more recent behavioral health crisis, that they had been seeing somebody for therapy or for psychiatry relation. So that, again, like that's a big, long conversation that we could probably have. And I'm happy to try to answer more questions in regards to your toxicology. None of the toxicology reports that I have seen doing the retrospective fatality analysis, except for 1 or 2, have indicated any levels of an anti-anxiety or anti-depression medication. More so, again, alcohol, marijuana, and illicit substances, specifically cocaine, are things that I'm seeing on a regular basis. And that's only for 2022 and 2023. I don't have access to the toxicology reports for the Colorado Violent Death Reporting System's data prior to 2022. And so I can't speak to that, but it is in the dashboard that they provide. And we do ask a question in the retrospective fatality analysis interviews, if people were ever exposed to psychiatric care and or psychiatric medications. That would impact kind of how we walk away from each of those reports.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions, comments?
If there aren't any other questions, I'm interrupting. I did just realize that I didn't explain that as peers, we are coming from the community and we have dealt with lived experience ourselves. And that's exactly what a peer is someone who can relate to others' experience. And, maybe we haven't gone through the exact same thing. However, we find that we can start really great conversations with people and make them feel heard while also helping ourselves. So I just wanted to add that in because I forgot to say that.
Great. Rhonda asked if private schools are included in the outreach programs for schools. Yes. We do outreach to every single school in Eagle County, private or part of the Eagle County School District's public schools. We have not had as much luck in providing education in some of the private schools. We do have a presence at Zealous schools. Stone Creek, I know Stone Creek is not necessarily private. They have some funding from the district anyway. It's a large balance. We have a presence and a great partnership with Vail Mountain School. We have had harder time in some of the faith-based schools. And that's a conversation that is continuing. It's not to say they're not doing anything, but we do reach out and would love help. Would love help having this conversation with them. All right, any other questions? Please also know that you're always welcome to reach out to us. You can email info@speakupreachout.org. If you have follow-up questions or if you want to talk about something more specific to your own situation that you don't want to maybe bring up out here in the public. And then also, I have a question. How much contact do you have with the recent past significant others of the documented cases or attempts? And have you been able to provide service and assistance, or are they receptive? That's a really great question. So we have a really good working relationship with the victim services team that is under the umbrella of Eagle County Sheriff's Office, but serves all of our law enforcement agencies across the county. and they help do referral. They provide what are our lost care packages. So they have these packages. They're available in English and Spanish. You can also request these on our website that have resources and a lot of different information about suicide loss. We are working on those specifically also in the attempt space. So after someone has an attempt, them and their family or caregiver members having a care package like that with resources. And I would say it's about 50-50. Some people really want to get involved and want to have conversations with our team, and some people are really not receptive to having any interaction with Speak Up, Reach Out. We do get to talk to many of them at least once, but that doesn't mean it turns into an ongoing relationship. In 2023, one of the things we finalized and are continuing to refine in 2024 is a protocol for response after a suicide. So how are we supporting not only the family, but the workplace or an organization like a school if it's a student, and then the broader community, depending on that ripple effect that we talked about as well. And I think we have another piece to that, and I'm just going to bring it up because I'm excited to be offering extra and additional support now to our law enforcement and actually paramedic, dispatch, fire, all of our first responders to make sure that they are getting the care and support that they need following a traumatic incident through critical incident stress debriefing and peer support for first responders. Passion project, in case you can't tell. All right, other questions? We only have 2 minutes left, so I have 2 more things I want to share with you all. Just briefly, it won't take long. But one is, I know everybody's taken 1,000 surveys probably this week. But we do want to understand more about, and we want to understand what the community does and doesn't know about Speak Up, Reach Out and the efforts that we are working on. So we will share these links in our follow-up email as well. But this is going to be open for probably about the next 90 days to try to get people's information brought back to us. Again, we want to hear the feedback. We want to give people different ways to provide feedback to us. And we will draw one random participant at the end, and they will get a $250 gift card for helping us out. So more to come on this. Again, we'd love to have you share this. Again, since many of you are our partners, if you can share it out to the people you work with, but also the people you serve. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and share with you that if you or someone you know is in suicidal crisis or needs support, please reach out to the following resources. Your Hope Center is available 24/7, 365, and free of charge to you to address anything that you need. So maybe you're a parent and you need help supporting your student. Maybe you need help for yourself or a coworker. Please call your Hope Center. You can also call Colorado Crisis Services, and at ValeHealthBH.org, you can find a therapist, learn more about Uyghur's outpatient clinic and the new inpatient pre-court healing center that will be opening in summer, we'll call it summer of 2025. Thank you all so much for
Erin,
yes.
Can I add something? One of our peer leads who specifically leads a men's group called Stuck in a Rut was watching our Facebook live version of this, and he commented that he just wanted to say it seems like men in their 40s and 50s are the largest group. And I have to say my men's peer support group is usually pretty small. He meets once a month at I think it's the last Wednesday of the month at the Inn at Riverwalk in Edwards. And he said, I would ask that everyone on this call help spread the word about Stuck in a Rut, which meets, as I just said, the last Wednesday of every month, just to get the word out to men that there is a safe space. It is men only. Joe has been a local in the Valley for over 20 years, maybe longer than that. And he's awesome. So if you have a man in your life that might be struggling a little bit with whatever it may be, that's a great group.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie, for sharing.
I
that.
could be wrong, but I believe he is on the third Tuesday.
He's last Wednesday.
It is last. Okay. All
Yep.
right. Sorry about that.
Absolutely. Thank you all again for coming. Again, info@speakupreachout.org if you have additional questions. And we appreciate your time this evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week.